You are listening to Quarters and Barra. I am Glenn Quartermain, veteran sports reporter with the West Australian. And with me is Adrian Barrich of Channel 7, the West Coast Eagles and Porth Football Club fame. How are you, Barra? I saw you at the boxing on Sunday.
Yeah, another veteran as well. I was speaking to our Sonny Walters yesterday, actually, as well, and he called himself a veteran. He's 32, and it made me laugh because we're a bit older than him. Yeah, how good was the boxing, mate? Oh, my God, that was unbelievable. What about the women's fight where the bloke called out the wrong winner?
Dan Hennessy, the ring announcer.
Lieutenant Dan Hennessy, out of the red corner. Actually, out of the blue corner. Mate, that was unbelievable.
Little bit of advice. Chernica Johnson, the Aussie Kiwi, was the winner ultimately, and Nina Hughes. I really felt for the girl from Essex who was told you have, and still the world champion, goes to her corner to celebrate, and then someone walks out to Dan and says, "Nah,
back
Dan,
in the middle, back in the middle.
You read it out the wrong way." Nah,
mate, what a balls up.
And
she was filthy too. Did you see her?
I was at the presser.
Her minders as well.
I was at the presser. They
mate, what about Maloney, the Aussie that got beaten?
Robbed.
Mate, he was robbed.
So,
and how dark was he? He retired, basically.
Well, he did. But the thing about Maloney is, Barrett's not the first time a boxer has said he's retired, and I would suggest that he will rescind that.
Yeah.
And he'll come back and fight the Mexican. Well done to the Mexican. He got the title, but
Guevara.
It wasn't right.
Pedro.
But then, of course, Barra, I got to see what I believe is one of the great sports people of my life. He, Lomachenko. And full credit to Kambosos for going 11.5 rounds, because I've never seen anything like it. It was art out in that ring from Lomachenko.
They called it sweet science boxing, and now I understand.
Oh, yeah.
Watching Loma, as I call him, because we're close, supermarket.
Oh, yeah.
Loma, as my mate Loma. What about... we'll finish that bit. The sweet science bit. So, because I've done a bit of boxing... Because I had a charity fight against Danny Green. Actually, Springer was... Did you see Springer was a judge?
Yeah, Gary Ingraham. He's always there. He refs fights. He's very honourable in the boxing industry.
Yeah,
high-ranking official.
Up.
Yes.
And Anthony Grover was in the corner. I was sitting next to Harley Bennell.
Jonathan Brown was in Andrew Maloney's corner.
Yeah, I know. He would have been filthy. Yeah, Harley Bennell was sitting next to me, and I went with Ben Cousins. Mate, you don't think Ben Cousins is very, very popular amongst that crew?
Oh, I bet you he is. Yeah.
Mate, did he have some selfies?
Oh, I bet you.
I ran into Rita Safiotti. She was there too because she brought them
it was a success. And I had a look at the main event afterwards, and it was pretty successful. The stuff that they were beaming back live to the US. So people don't understand.
Apart from the balls up when the bloke named the wrong winner.
That's not really the organisers' fault. That's him.
No, of course not.
The images they were beaming back live. So this went to 50 countries, and it was live to US prime time. So you're getting these images of Perth, and Kambosos was heavily involved in all that. Lomachenko was involved in the promotion. So it's really good promotion for the state.
No doubt. Talking about Lomachenko, though, and the sweet science. So he was a southpaw, right?
Yep.
So he keeps chucking out his jab. And do you see him feinting a bit?
Yeah.
When I say feinting, you're moving your head left and right. So feinting, first 3 rounds. And and I said to his corner, I said, what was he doing there? He said, he's just checking out what ferocious George Kambosos is going to do and what his moves are and where he can go and how good he is. Can he move his feet? And then after that, he worked out what his style was, and he just went bang, started pumping him.
Well,
poof, poof. Hit him 140 times.
Yeah, seasoned him with the right jab and just cooked him with that sweet left. And he only landed 4 jabs, Kambosos. So it just shows you.
They can't get him.
They call him the Matrix because he comes from all different angles. And you could see it, couldn't you, in the ring? He does come from different angles. That's what Kambosos was trying to do, trying to work out the angles and come at him with his own angles. And in the end, you know what? Well done, George, for getting a fight with one of the all-time greats.
Mate, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
No question.
Doubt. And the only bloke getting more selfies was Nick Nat. Did you see Nick Nat there?
Oh, I did see Nick Nat. He was sitting behind me.
Who? Oh, thank God.
I was in the press area.
Imagine if you were sitting behind Nick Nat, because we were ringside. Joshy, we were ringside. I was ringside because I was with Cuz.
How'd you get ringside?
I went with Cuz and he knew the promoters. Yeah. And you were actually
I was
working.
Ringside. Yeah,
because I could see where you were. But the interesting thing about what about when Kambosos came out and the full Sparta? They went the full Sparta thing, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
like the Greek music,
Greek national anthem, and then the Australian national anthem. And how good was the Ukraine national anthem for with Lomachenko's appearance. What a beautiful national
and
anthem.
the fact that he's fought for Ukraine. When I say fought,
picked up an M16 and defended his country against Russia.
So, like when I interviewed him, I said, mate. Anyway,
so I asked him afterwards in the press conference. So you said beforehand, George said it was going to be a war. You said it was going to be art. I said, what did you do out there, Loma? Did you make art? He said, I try. He said, I try and paint. I make art.
Exactly. And you know what? That's why it was so ridiculous that Ferocious was talking about war.
Oh, yeah, but
we're going to war,
and
Loma's going, mate, I've actually been to war. I have been to war. I fight for my country. That's what he said. But when he came out, when Kambosos came out, I know this isn't a boxing show, but there was a lot of footy. There was sitting in front of me was Lynn Sanity as well, Chris Lynn, Marshy, Swamp. What's he called?
It's a great entourage, isn't it? It's all theatre, and Kambosos, it was all theatre. But I got to tell you, in the post fight. Very humble, very generous.
Kambosos. Nice guy.
Nice
but he came out. It was like being in the movie 300.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
I am Sparta. Well, I thought he was going to come out and kick someone down a well. Have you seen that scene in the movie when he kicks the bloke down the well?
Unfortunately, he met Loma, Barra. Hey, Barra, we are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Barra, we've got to get through some footy here.
Righto.
There's a fair bit to get through. Let's just start with the biggest moment of the weekend, the saddest moment of the weekend. We were there on Friday night. Fremantle v Sydney, it was just filled with emotion, and I really felt for the Fremantle Football Club. I felt for the McCarthy family. I felt for all his friends. It was just so much sadness tinged around it. I still believe the game should have gone ahead, Barra, because Fremantle were very, very busy.
Why do you think it should have gone ahead?
Well, because you give the players the option not to play, and I think it's what people have to understand is that game. There's all sorts of stuff that goes around it. There's the Purple Hands Foundation. It's a very big day for Fremantle. You had all abilities kids out there on the ground. The biggest day of the year for that. You should have seen the smiles on their faces out there at halftime. How can you say to those kids in the build up to it, we're not doing it now? I just think Cam McCarthy would have wanted it to go ahead, and even though it didn't work out...
You can't really say that, mate.
Well, he would have.
He
would have wanted the game to go ahead.
You assume that he would.
Yeah, okay, I assume so, but we would have thought so, Barra. But I think the right thing happened. The game went ahead, and the players were given the option to sit the game out, which would have been perfectly fine because, as you can see, it really football pales when it comes to this. This is much.
It's not that important. It's footy. It's not that.
That's right,
mate. One of the South Fremantle blokes sat out. The captain, Dylan Main, sat out of the game because his brother was almost best friends with Cam McCarthy, and so he didn't play. But I have a feeling that if they had their choice, Fifey and particularly Alex Pearce, I think Alex Pearce was catching up with McCarthy on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's how close they were.
Yeah.
I mean, and those scenes, I mean, I just put myself in their shoes. You just think, like, why do I want to play today? Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it was only in the morning they found out, and that was just hours early.
I know you can't postpone the game, and we're all professionals, but you give them a mulligan. If anyone's attacking them for the way they played and their goal kicking, just pull back. I've been through it. Rhett Baines, Chris Stazanowski,
Maney,
Chris Mainwaring, and Chris Mainwaring. And that's the other thing, Quarters, in a workplace situation. If your best friend died, would you go to work?
Yeah, it's a fair call. No, I absolutely would have thought...
Zero chance.
Alex, Nat and anyone else who didn't want to play, there are back players who can come into that team. So I would have thought that was more than reasonable if they did not want to play. I will say I thought they did a great job of getting out there, and particularly Pearce... He was elite out there as a defender.
Absolute, total respect for those guys, Fifey and Pearce and Cohen. And the Giants as well, obviously Pure Thunder. I saw Nathan Wilson point to the sky when he kicked a goal. It was so beautiful.
South Fremantle, same.
And what Josh Kelly said on Twitter, he gave the greatest assessment of Cam McCarthy, because when he got to the club, Cam took him under his wing, and I think the final line was something like, the kindest, warmest, most joyful, fun, and lordiest souls that there was. And, mate, he lit up the room, that bloke. I met him, and I knew him a bit, but my good friend Colin Young he was devastated because he was really close to him, and like he was in tears. And, so I could feel the power of losing. So he's only 29.
Very young.
So I don't know. I guess they had to play, but just don't be critical of the way they played. That's for sure.
Yeah,
you know
no.
No one should be critical.
Tell you what I did see, though, on Friday night. I saw a very, very good football team in Sydney. They are slick. They are silk. And, they're really well-balanced defence, attack, midfield. And they are just...
Their scoring was unbelievable.
Yeah, and they're also just the pressure they put on the opposition with their tackling, with their chasing, with their harassing, even just the perceived pressure on the opposition. And I thought a lot of the Fremantle missed kicking, Barra, yes, it was down to the fact they were a bit flat. But it was also, don't underestimate Sydney. They are a very, very good side. And if they, I tell you what, from what I've seen so far this year, my pre-season, Melbourne are in a bit of trouble because Sydney are coming at them, I can tell you.
Well, hard to know exactly how good Sydney are because that game didn't reflect it. They struck the Giants when they were struggling, and they've had a benign draw apart from that. Kicking 9 straight's unheard of. First half, 9 straight.
Pretty good, isn't it? Particularly these days.
So that that makes you think, what were the Dockers actually like? That's an aberration. And then they went 11-2. Whilst the Dockers went 2-13. 2-13. So
they pretty much had the same amount of scoring shots at half time, and they were down by 40-odd points. So
they had exactly the same amount of scoring shots. So, and the inside 50s and all the rest of it. So I don't know how much you can take out of it, but certainly they've got the players. They've got scoring power. That's the big thing, Sydney, haven't they? You know what I mean? They've got guys that can score.
But on the end of all that silk, I thought that Pearce did a great job against Logan McDonald because Logan's a very good player and he was up and about early, and to restrict him to that one goal I thought was a pretty good effort. Now, Barra, this is one of my favourite rounds of the year, if not the favourite round of the year. By the way, they should call it just one thing. Please call it the Doug Nicholls rounds, not the Doug Nicholls round, because this does go for a fortnight. But now we'll do our best this week because we are Fremantle, we are calling Walyalup, and West Coast have been renamed for these 2 rounds Woolwich Marrawah. So we will be doing our best. If we forget occasionally, please forgive us. But it is a big round, Barra. And what else did you take out of the weekend? For me, a concerning thing I saw was this the Jeremy Cameron situation in the Geelong Port Adelaide game. By the way, what an ambush by Port Adelaide. What an ambush. It's that if you look up AFL ambush in the dictionary, it'll refer to that game.
No, Rosie.
They just jumped them.
Amazing.
Jumped them.
That was. I'm so proud of Port Adelaide to go down. They hadn't won down there in 9 attempts.
Yeah.
So I suppose it was primed and set up, but you wouldn't have thought that Geelong would fall over like that. They came at the end there, didn't they? They charged home.
They came back, and by the way, well done for Chris Scott. The classic art of subterfuge with Kevin Sheedy after the game, distracting the actual result with some, although I tend to agree with him about the tackle, but he didn't
need to do that. They're still a top team.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon he's a living certainty to coach the Tassie team.
Chris Scott, do you?
A living certainty. I reckon that's the plan. Gale's gone down there now as the CEO. Brilliant decision.
Yeah, it is a good decision.
He's going to have all these things to do, all these players, and I reckon Chris Scott is the man.
Okay.
It's a pity we lost him. We had him here at Fremantle, didn't we?
We'll remember that prediction. But I was concerned about Jeremy Cameron. Now, I've not really seen this happen before, and it's legit, it's legal. So the HIA assessment on Jeremy Cameron was done on the field. It took 39 seconds, and you can see him going back and forth with the player. And what they do is they ask you a series of questions. Who are you playing? What's the score? All this sort of stuff. But clearly, he'd fallen from
39 seconds it took.
Yeah. But he'd fallen from, I think it was about 6 foot, landed on his head, and is now in the concussion protocol. So this is what worries me. And I'm not casting any doubt on the professionalism on the Geelong doctor. What I am saying, it's another reason for my argument for an independent doctor, which the AFL, by the way, has come out and said we don't need them. Well, you do need them because I bet you, and according to some research, most of the AFL club doctors would be happy to hand over that responsibility.
Absolutely.
Take it off them and
needs the pressure.
Let them do their job and take that particular bit of responsibility away from them. It's got to be they've got someone sitting in the arc. So just take them off for the...
It's probably a big enough issue to do that.
Well, Barra, the Scat 6 takes 20 minutes. Get him off for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And don't let him tell you I'm right.
The Scat 6, better explain that.
Well, it's just another assessment they do off the field, which is a bit more involved, Barra, and it takes about... Plus, and you rest for a while. So
because now Cameron's in concussion protocols.
That's
so
right.
he actually was concussed.
That's right. So I just
So
think,
it was a mistake, let's be honest.
I think the more we know, the more we learn, the more of those examples we see, the more I double down on it. You've got to have an independent doctor.
You know what? You know why they're resistant is because it's a bit like in the waffle, and you have physios that aren't used to football, and they just treat athletes like normal people. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly you've done a hammy or whatever. I will see in
21 days, and you don't get 21 days for a brain injury.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yes.
That they apply normal people's assessments on athletes, and also that they're desperate to get back to play. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's good that with the head you should take every precaution. Maybe you're right. Maybe an independent doc coming in who doesn't really understand footy just goes, mate, no, don't do that because that'll stuff his brain. Yeah, maybe you're right.
The other thing that struck me, and I've got to take my hats off, and it hurts, but to take my hat off to Essendon.
Me too.
Being a Hawthorn man, they're my
mate. I'll say it. I'll say it for you.
Third on the ladder.
We underestimated them.
Well, they've come. They're ninth.
We apologise to Bombers fans.
I'm not apologising.
You've got to apologise.
I can't.
Mate, they're third.
I can't apologise. But 9th for points and 13th for defence, though. And they've managed to get themselves up there. One thing I will say, they've got a good midfield mix now. Merritt, Durham, Caldwell, Nick Martin coming off half-back. They really do have a good mix of inside and outside now in the midfield. And that's what was getting them, I think, that Port Adelaide game, when they got them on the inside and outside the power. They've really improved in that area since. And clearly, they've got some players up forward, Langford and Stringer, etc.
Langford's become a bit of a star.
He's a good player.
And how good was Guelphy?
Yeah, he's a good player.
He was under enormous pressure. He went and visited that poor little sick kid and painted his nails red.
Yeah, it's a lovely mate.
Said, I'm going to kick a goal for you.
Yeah.
Mate, that's a lot of pressure to get out there with a kid in hospital watching you. And what did he kick? He kicked three.
Three, I think, yeah. But he showed the fingernails.
He's given the fingernails.
Oh, nice.
Mate, he's from Perth, Guelphy.
Yeah.
Great fella. How good looking is he?
He's done some, that's for you to judge, Barra.
Honestly, I didn't realise.
He's done some good stopping jobs too, Guelphy, this year. So
yeah, should have come on.
Very good player. Very good player indeed. What else took your fancy?
What about your blokes winning, mate?
Yeah, down in Tassie. Another win of the Hawks.
Did you tip him?
Yeah.
You did tip him?
Yeah, I should point out.
What?
Yeah.
Without Sicily?
So... I tipped him when Sicily was still in the side, by the way. So the game tipping, this week's winner, Dale Allen, with 7 correct. Well done, Dale. I know how you feel, mate, because I got 7 as well. Overall leader, Chris Shepherd, with a 57 total. Barra,
mate,
only
you've kicked
2
away.
ahead of me. I'm 55. You got 4. You're down to 50. Come on, mate.
How did you get
Come
7?
on.
Hang on. So you've tipped
everyone
Collingwood?
got the draw.
Yeah, all right. So you got Collingwood.
Yeah.
You didn't tip Adelaide, did you? Oh, that's the draw, sorry.
Yeah.
Gold Coast, you would have tipped them.
Yep.
Bulldogs, you would have tipped them. Essendon, you wouldn't tip them. Hawthorn, so you
Actually, I did tip Essendon.
Oh, what?
I did. I thought the GWS were struggling a bit.
You bloody...
What? That's who I tipped.
Traitor.
No, I'm not a traitor. I'm allowed
You
to
shit
pick
cannon them all last week.
So who did I get wrong? I got wrong. I picked Collingwood. I picked Adelaide, so that's a draw. Gold Coast I thought would take care of North up there. Western Bulldogs and Richmond, I thought it would be actually a fair bit closer, but I tipped the Dogs. Richmond just decimated. Essendon, I thought GWS just a bit on the nose at the moment, so I thought they were gettable. And Essendon coming off the only thing that worried me about them was coming off that close win. The Hawks, I picked I picked them when Sicily was in the side. Then when he was out of the side, I thought, what have I done here? No way could I have picked Port Adelaide at GMHBA. I thought Sydney would have too much class for Freo. And Carlton Melbourne, well, obviously I picked the Ds. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty disappointed I didn't get 8 there because I thought that they did enough to win. A great comeback from the Ds.
Was a great comeback, and you're right. They are contenders. Fremantle, I was stiff with Fremantle because we couldn't have seen what was going to roll out.
What'd you
on
make
Friday.
of West Coast?
I would say that no yo, no go. and particularly in the mate. I have never seen a team get so pantsed out of the middle. They kicked 7 goals from centre bounce in the first half. Yeah. That's like unheard of.
It looked like it was going to get really ugly. So
and obviously
showed a bit.
The Pies took their foot off the.
You reckon it was more that the Pies took?
No, but and they sent Duggan to Nick Daicos.
Yep.
So instead of having 20, he had probably 18 in the second half.
Yep.
Poor old Dommy Sheed, he was like, "What's going on here?" He's in the middle there, and they've kicked 7 goals from the middle in the first half. It's almost like everyone who was in there should be sacked, apart from Harley Reid.
You know,
mate, Bailey Williams, don't shug that off. Bailey Williams. Poor bugger. Guess who he runs into this week?
Who they got this week?
Max Gawn.
Oh, God.
He couldn't go with Cameron.
Nahm.
Poor
Melbourne,
bastard.
by the way.
Nahm, and he's got Nahm. He's going to get Nahmed. Fair dinkum. Oh, mate, they're just desperate to get that bloke back.
He's a good player, Max Gawn, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he the ruckman of our generation right now?
I'm still him and Cox. I'm still with Cox.
No, I'm saying of this particular era. So Cox is just out of his era. I'm just saying right now.
Right
He's the
now.
best
Oh,
ruckman,
right now, absolutely. What about people turning on Dusty Martin because he had a flat one, saying that he should
I think he's
pull
got,
the pin?
It might have a few points on the board, Barra, I think.
Modern
3
great.
Norm Smiths.
It's a modern great.
He's just getting
older. Bagging
older.
Loma.
Getting older. What would you do if you were Dusty?
Pull the pin.
Yeah.
Move to Queensland.
Yeah.
Apparently he's moving to Queensland.
So Rioli is the talk there because...
I'm not bagging him, by the way. I'm just saying that he's probably thinking, I don't need this.
Be good for the Gold Coast.
Oh, go and play there, you
I'm
reckon?
saying go and play for a year, just to reinvigorate himself, because he looks a bit flat, and you can't blame the bloke. He's been in the trenches for Richmond for so long. He's won 3 Norm Smith medals. They've been through that era. They're redeveloping now, so there's no finals now for the probably for the medium to long term. So why wouldn't you help? Just get some publicity up there. I'm not sure if he will. I think he'll just retire.
You know what? That's an interesting... So, okay, if you put yourself in his shoes, you've got Buddy going, mate, come to the hinterland, buy a hacienda, have a giant joint like mine, hide from everyone, don't have to talk to nobody, or go and play at the Gold Coast Suns and throw yourself back into it.
The only thing I'd say with it, I like it. The only thing I'd say is he's really a very loyal person, Dusty, and he only ever wanted to be a one-club player. So I think he's more likely to just retire at the end of the year, but I think there's something glimmer in me that I'd love to see him up there. Now, Rioli is an interesting one because he's obviously, I thought he's improving this, he's a young player. They might be able to get a bit of draft capital for Rioli, Richmond, and it's probably not a bad thing. So I could see him moving to the Gold Coast under his old coach, Damien Hardwick.
Geez, that would be something. Hey, mate, I wanted to mention something too about, for Jakeb Waddell, fantastic fella, the sports editor here.
Yeah, indeed he is.
Mate, he's written an article today. I was staggered. If I ever see you around Perth, I will assault you. I will take pleasure in it.
A fair bit of hate mail for Jakeb. I mean, I think people don't understand that there's a fair bit coming our way as well.
Who?
I tend to not. Well, the media. The media cop a lot, I can tell you.
Yeah.
I turn mine off.
Threats?
I don't look at
Do you get death threats?
I don't look at my messages, mate. So
not
worth it.
You need to.
Don't worry. You don't have to
quit, or I'll burn your office down. Now, I want to say something about that. So on social media, I think what we need to take into account is that some of these blokes are young men sitting at their desk in their mum's sleep out, or maybe in the spare room, firing off with absolutely no possibility of doing anything or having any courage at all.
Yep.
They're just
making
keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Please be better than that, boys. Be better than that. It's not worth it. I mean, Jakeb is a good fella. He's not the boss of the whole organisation, but he's trying to create some hype around the Eagles. He's trying to sell papers, save jobs.
And the Harley Reid stuff, it's all been good, positive.
And it was about the mark. It was about the mark, which is now a contender for Mark of the Year.
Fair hang, wasn't it?
It wasn't. And, so he's up there. Of course, it's not as good as Jamie Elliott's, but it's still part of the thing. And he bit back at him, and maybe they've come after him. But some of these keyboard warriors, I'm telling you, they just leave home, mate. Buy your own house. Get out there. Get a job. These are the blokes we're talking about. A lot of them.
And obviously, we extend that to players. Just leave them alone, because these keyboard warriors go after players as well. And,
Cripsy copped it after that thing. Jordan Clark's a good friend of mine. He copped a big time, when when they lost that game in controversial circumstances. So. Yeah, it's just unnecessary. And I know maybe we shouldn't take it. We should take it all with a grain of salt and just ignore it. Maybe that's the way we should operate, because really, it's just, what is it?
It's a good point. It's a good point, because the less oxygen you give them.
But it was good to see Harley, Reid and Nick Daicos together. And yes, Collingwood fans, Nick Daicos was best on ground. He was an absolute star. And Harley did had 18 and stuff and did what he did as an inside mid. And he's a first-year player, and he's making his way. In a couple of years' time, he'll be like Nick Daicos. Mm-hmm. We're so fortunate to have two great young players like that, haven't we? Mm. And even that Riley Sanders guy at the Bulldogs, he had 40 in them.
Sam Darcy. I think Harley's rightly still the favourite for the Rising Star. I tell you what, Sam Darcy's coming like a freight train. He is a good player, Sam Darcy.
And Rory loves going backwards. Where's he going? You reckon he's going to Collingwood now?
Oh, I don't know.
They do. They reckon he's going to Collingwood.
Actually, I can see that working.
Colin Young
contested mark forward line. I can see that working.
Yeah, because they haven't
back
got
with his old mate Lockie Schultz.
Yeah, that's right.
And what do you reckon, by the way? What's your thoughts on the Collingwood supporter with Harvey Johnson? Just the little ruffle of the hair and that. I don't like fans touching players. I mean, you've had the worst. You saw the worst in your era. You had people you had people filling cups of urine and throwing them on top of you. But I'm talking about, and there's also been some interaction.
Yeah,
I don't
interaction.
like it.
Had also been some. Carl got strangled.
Yeah,
Carl Langdon. The bloke reached over and started strangling Carl. I think the bus driver saved him.
Really?
And something happened to Don Pike as well. But in that series, I didn't feel bad about that, because I could see the dude, okay, he had tattoos and stuff and what the rest of it, but he didn't look like a dangerous dude.
No, it wasn't a menacing action. And for that...
And he handballed the ball back to the umpire.
I hope the AFL isn't too harsh on him. Get your message out there. That's a bit of a
no-no. Did you give him a week?
But... Oh, not really. I'd give him maybe a fine, mate. But I mean, if there's
fine,
if there's an aggressive action against a player, I think that's when you should be banned.
If they ban him for the year from Marvel or
I
MCG,
think that would be a bit harsh.
That'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure if there was. It was more of a bit of fun that he was having. I just don't think he realised he probably shouldn't be doing that. He just needs maybe go and sit through the AFL can talk to him and say, mate, look, we got to get the message out there that you can't do that. But we know that there was no malice there. We know you weren't trying to hurt anyone.
Simo was interesting. See what Simo said?
Yeah, what did Simo say?
Simo said, lucky it was Harvey Johnson.
Yeah.
And not
someone else.
Jeremy McGovern. Mm. So in other words, like Jeremy McGovern might have taken action himself, taken the matters into his own hands. Mm. But I don't know, Gov's pretty relaxed, and he's a bit of a knock-around sort of bloke.
Very relaxed individual, yeah.
If someone mussed your hair and sort of gave you a bit of a hug, how would you react?
Remember that one many years ago? I think it was at Moorabbin, and someone had to go at Tony Lockett, and he actually got the bloke on the boundary line. Tony Lockett had him in a bit of a headlock. And they were talking about it on that great show, The Could Have Been Champions.
Yeah.
They used to have one of the characters who used to ring in called Massive Merv from Moorabbin. And Massive Merv rang in and said, I was sitting next to the bloke that Plugger strangled, and he said, I know what happened, I can give you the inside. And they said, what happened, Massive Merv? And he said, he was eating his hot dog. He was hungry. He was just eating his hot dog.
Now, in this situation, I've been told that if you want to come across as a good person and do the right thing, I should now ask you another question.
Okay.
Instead of trying to top you with another story.
Okay.
Like we normally do.
Okay.
Because, we try to top each other.
Do we?
We only do that out of friendship, really.
Yeah, we
like
do.
I'm about to deliver a story about Plugger, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to say... So what happened to Plugger in that situation? Did he did he get fined or nothing happened? Right.
No.
Well, I remember a similar story where this guy he was playing on. Remember Brad Fox?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Was he playing? Who was he playing for at the time? He must have been for us. Anyway, so Plugger's strangling him. He's leaning over the top of him, and in a match, and he's got him by the throat, and he says to him, how would you like to die in front of 20,000 people?
We shouldn't be laughing, but that is, I can imagine people saying that.
It was bloody funny when he recounts it. Something happened to Fraser Gehrig too.
He's a good
before
man.
Fraser was big.
Good man Plugger. He was a good man Plugger.
No, he was a very bad man.
You seen him now?
Yeah, I know. What's he stopped eating or something? He must be vegan.
He's just eating like almost a different diet.
Am I going too far to say he looks terrible?
No, he's not, but he doesn't. He does look like he's ill, but he's not.
I don't say he's ill. I just think he looks terrible.
He actually came out and said that when he was competing in that Dakar. Was it the Dakar Rally? It was a motorbike race across the middle of Australia. And anyway,
Is that what he did?
Yeah, he had to come.
Mate, you've topped me there. That's a good top. You got me on that one.
And he came out and he said, "Look, everyone, I'm not ill. I'm actually just got a bit of a different diet, and and he doesn't have to have a big body anymore because he's not playing against the biggest, meanest defenders in the competition. It was a different era back then."
But he was at the St Kilda days. He was a bad man.
Well, you would never.
Like, he legitimately tried to hurt people.
Yeah, and
like
if you stood in the hole, right? Who stood in the hole for West Coast?
Yeah, none of us. That's for sure. Too smart.
Did
for that.
you ever asked to stand in the hole in front of?
Yeah,
players?
absolutely.
And what did you do?
I stayed on my man because he needed guarding. Get in the hole. Piss off. You kidding, aren't you? Because Plugger would try to hurt you. He would try to run through you. Didn't he turn McKenna into a piano accordion at one stage there? And he used to kick the ball into the crowd. If you were giving him shit,
he would. Yeah.
And on a wet day, he would run up to the goal line and drill it at you. Just try to knock you out. Mate, he was a bad man. Bad man. He's a good man now, but bad man. When he went to Sydney, we could keep going with Lockett stories, but that's for another day.
And just a bit of a plug here, but later in the week, I'm really excited, Barra. We've got a special little bonus episode with one of the great. I'll say swingmen, really. He was a forward who played in defensive. David Rhys-Jones, the Carlton legend, 87 Norm Smith medalist, and one of the great blokes. So he
was a bit of a bad man too, by the way.
Most reported player in VFL AFL history. 25 times he was reported.
Every time you say his name, I remember that Dennis Banks knocking him out.
1986. Dennis Banks has knocked him out.
The dirtiest bit of play you've ever seen.
And got 3 weeks.
3 weeks? Yeah. Knocking his head off.
He might get 15 now.
Mate, did he break his jaw? It looked like he would have broken his jaw.
Yeah, Rhys.
So Rhys went for the mark. It went through his hands and he went to recover it. And Banksy had obviously been hit by Rhys, said, here's my chance.
He had not long before, yeah.
He just hooked him. Like round arm hooked him to the jaw. He went down. The Carlton bloke, so it was like Wayne dominated Johnson and Blackwell and all those guys, not big guys. No one. Hunter comes in, the great Ken.
You say not big guys, but they were tough.
Yeah, but they couldn't sort out Dennis Banks. Dennis Banks was. Dennis and Mullane were like fearsome when you played against them. And there was another one too, Kurasiska and
Gavin Kurasiska.
Who was the fourth one? There was a fourth killer. Kelly himself.
Oh yeah, Craig Kelly,
the CEO. They're all bloody lunatics, pinching you and doing stuff.
So Rhys-Jones is doing this. He's doing a 15 for 15 challenge where I think it's Sydney Carlton on Friday. So it's his 2 clubs. He played for South Melbourne before he played for Carlton. So he's doing
What's he doing or what?
15-day challenge. So he's coming out with 15 stories. So we'll get a couple of
15 stories?
It's in support of Prader-Willi syndrome, so PWS Awareness Month. His son, Cooper, suffers with it. It's a debilitating, life-threatening illness that affects 1 in 1,500 young Australians. So we'll do our best to promote that and we'll have a bit of fun along the way as well with Rhys-Jones.
Look forward to that.
Now, Barra, it's time for this.
Saddle up your camel. It's time for the Thirsty Camel mailbag.
Thank you to Thirsty Camel, our long-term sponsor. We really appreciate it. This week's special, Jack Daniel's Double Jack and Cola, 6.9%, 10-pack only, $64.99. This week we will have a $50 gift voucher, as always, to give away thanks to Thirsty Camel. Get your questions in to quartersandbarra at wanews.com.au. Barra. Hi guys, when a CEO of a company has been in a role for around 10 years, it is accepted best practice that they should move on to either take a break or to simply move to a new role where they're a fresh face. Not only has their message become much the same, but managers become comfortable and lose energy, i.e. look at the spring in the step of the Eagles with a new CEO. I'd agree with that.
Who's he going after here?
The same is surely true for a high-pressure job such as a football coach. In Luke Beveridge's case, this is surely true. Premiership was a long way back.
Hang on. When was this written?
It was just before the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, you can't read it out now.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Well, Alistair from Mount Lawley.
He's just absolutely belted Richmond and he's back on top and no one's talking about it.
Only Richmond.
It's about Ross Lyon, maybe you can
Richmond.
Read it
No.
out. Just put Ross Lyon in.
Let me finish. Hang on.
You can't be reading this
Here we go. His messaging is inconsistent. He appears intent on reshaping players and not letting them settle and has ignored the side's defensive problems for years. Someone like Ross Lyon should have taken this side, put them in their correct position Have them
This
play
is the greatest
consistent
stuff-up
football.
email of all time.
Alistair from Mount
Alistair,
Lawley.
put it down as the greatest balls-up email
No, it's not. He sent it before the weekend.
ever. Yeah, but
If
as
it's
it turned
anyone's
out,
fault, it's mine for reading it out too late.
the worst predictor of all time, that guy. So not only did the Bulldogs
They played
play
Richmond.
beautifully,
They're a bit gettable at the moment, the Tigers. I
mate,
think
they
you're
kicked
being a bit unkind to Alistair.
19, 133
Yeah.
to 6, 42.
Righto.
And St Kilda, he wants the coach to go in there. Ross Lyon is being totally demoralised, and now everyone's gunning for Ross Lyon. Hey, Alistair, write us an email about Ross Lyon this week.
Alistair,
He'll turn him around.
I'm with you, buddy. Don't listen to Barra. Hey, hello, my friends. This one's from Connor. Hello, my friends. Chris Scott has once again proven that he is the number one coach in the league. Having lost a game in which they were
another
short price
balls
favourites.
up.
Having lost a game where they were short price favourites and with such a lack of effort in the first half, Scott practiced the art of distraction in the form of a 5-minute post-game umpire rant. Genius.
Fair enough.
We mentioned that a bit earlier.
Why did he? Do you reckon he's going to get fined for that? But do you reckon he needed
They've
to?
sent 2 officials down the road, to talk to him about that. I don't mind what he was saying.
Well,
though.
they actually have to drive to
Don't
Geelong.
you? Do you agree that it's?
I'm pretty sure they do on the phone.
What are they doing with the tackle though? You can actually spin around twice. You can do 2 360s now before
No,
the
you can't.
I'm telling
2
you.
360s.
What game
Hello?
are you watching?
A 720.
Yes, you can do a 720.
Piss off,
You can.
After this, you go and show me these
I will.
720s.
I will. Well, you're not watching the game at the weekend.
720.
I'm telling you.
Maybe a 500.
Nah, 720. 900s even.
Why did Chris Scott? He obviously didn't need to do that. I mean, it was embarrassing losing.
But the
them.
rule, it's not just him. Lee Matthews had a
is
rant
second,
a couple of weeks ago. There have been other voices out there. There's some inconsistency with the holding the ball.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just not sure
Maybe he
where
believed
we're
what he
going
was
with
saying.
it at the
Why are you
moment.
being cynical about it?
I'm not. I'm just saying.
He wanted to make a good point.
but
He
it's-
wasn't trying to defray.
Timing was very good. That's all I'll say. Hello, fellas. Can we start penalising milking? Oh, great email. This one's from Sam from Treeby. It looks ridiculous and in some instances could be dangerous if they pretend to hit their head on the ground to get a free. Well, there are a couple of examples again at the weekend.
Yeah, and was
the
wrong.
Melbourne game.
And it was wrong.
You can't.
The one that they highlighted, even on the commentary.
You're talking about the Carlton Melbourne
Yeah.
game. So you
was
reckon,
wrong.
You don't reckon he died?
Nothing happened.
You don't reckon he took a dive?
Mate, does anyone else think he had a guy?
I do.
Mate, where have you been hiding? If you've been in a hole, that's right. You're at the boxing, so you obviously haven't caught up with
No,
that.
I was at the
that
boxing on Sunday. That was on Thursday night.
well, while you're at the boxing, and I was there too. But you can look at your phone.
yeah.
That was totally discounted as being a guy trying to do simulation
Well, discounted by who?
by everyone except for you
Well, no, I think
and
I've
Brian
got some
Taylor. Apart from you and Brian
I think
Taylor.
I've got some more mates out there than you think. Hey, hello, boys. When are we going to be...
But you're right about that. You shouldn't actually do that. You shouldn't try to milk.
Thank you.
Not that guy was, but it is. It
Yes,
could
he was.
become a thing.
Thank you, Barra. Hello, boys. When are we going to be serious with concussions? A little over the experts talk about the lack of funding for independent doctors being in charge when they throw away millions on struggling clubs like St Kilda, Brisbane North and the Foundation clubs. Are we serious or not? Treat it like the blood rule. You either have 1 or 2 doctors sit in the arc and deliberate from there, or have one at each ground game. With the Thursday night game now an almost fixture, there are less games on at the same time. That's from Jeremy. Well, actually, I don't think they are, because the fixtures come out today, I think, Barra, a little later today. And I don't think there'll be any Thursday night games between round 16 for the end of the season. So I'm not sure what's happening.
Why
there.
do you think? Why are they getting rid of Thursday night games? Do you know why?
I don't.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a Saturday twilight game in its place. Focus on the Fridays. I'm not sure. Are they worried there's not enough marquee games to play in that slot? I love Thursday night footy.
Me too.
But you know my theory. I'd go Thursday night to Monday night. And when we have 20 teams, when the NT comes in, when we have 20 teams, I think you'll find that it'll be Thursday night to Monday night, and it should be.
And you're talking about, I tell you what was interesting at the Dockers this week with Michael Johnson launching. You know Michael Johnson, the Dockers great. So his family bloodlines and everything was on the jersey there, and, and the new jersey. And they brought back the red and the green and all that sort of stuff. And we're talking about how the drop-off in
Indigenous numbers,
so
huge.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we have this Sir Doug Nicholls rounds, and you'd think that would encourage him to come through, wouldn't it? But for some reason, the numbers in the Indigenous players playing AFL footy are dropping off. Have you got any idea as to why?
I think it's a lot to do with the next generation academies. I mean, if you look over here at Woolwich, Marrawar and Walyulup, that is West Coast and Fremantle, they've got no incentive really to pour their resources into their academies because, of course, they haven't got protected players inside the first 40. So, as we found out last year, there were a couple of players that were drafted to other clubs when they'd put all this work into them. So, I think what you'll find by the end of this year is I think the AFL will review those rules, and I think that clubs who will have a protected player. At least one protected player. So you can be guaranteed you invest in this player, they will be at your club. Now, the reason I say it, Barra, it takes a lot of money to get an Indigenous kid, for example, from the Kimberley back down to Perth, schooled, education, all that sort of stuff. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of money, and so you want to know that you're going to be that player is actually going to be playing with your club and not one of the other mobs.
Yeah, that's so true. And so, does the Northern Territory team, will that help? Do you think?
I think I have no issue with Brisbane, GWS, the Northern Territory getting more, maybe one or two or three protected players. But I think the clubs here should at least get one, at least. And I think they'd be happy. They're asking for one or two, but I think at least one would be, then at least you know your investment's going to be returned.
So when they bring the Northern Territory team in, if it's the 20th team,
they'll come in.
Do you think that'll help the situation?
Everyone debates whether it will dilute the talent and whether we can really have 20 teams.
The Indigenous problem,
I think it'll improve massively because there'll be a lot of Indigenous players playing for that club. And look, Walyulup has no club has done more for Indigenous talent than Walyulup. They have
56 they've had.
Unbelievable.
Between male and female.
And it's been,
all the names are on the back of the jumper. It's worth getting that jumper. It's a belter. And the Eagles is a belter, and there's the Dockers is a belter.
I don't think anyone could reasonably argue that the Fremantle contribution has not been great. And in fact, the Kevin Sheedy, the Indigenous round has not been of great impact to the AFL. I think people love it. I love it. And
your old club wasn't huge on it.
Hawthorn took a long time, but Hawthorn's now, embracing it, which is good. So as are all the clubs. So I think it's really good.
Brody Kemp's phoned in as well, mate.
Brody Kemp. Oh, yeah?
He's phoned in and he said, mate, he heard that we've been talking about it and that he definitely did not stage. And he'd like you to pass that on to you, if that's okay.
Okay, good.
So, because he thinks you might be he's warning you about defamation too.
Okay.
Because he did not stage.
Okay. So, that's not defamatory.
Not that he's a stager.
No.
What?
Hey, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Remember diving? That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What did they do? What did the AFL do?
Well, I'll tell you what happened.
They started suspending players for diving. And guess what? They're not diving anymore.
Yeah.
Start suspending players for moving their heads forward in a tackle, and they'll stop doing it.
Brody Kemp didn't do it, mate. You've
got to protect yourself.
You know the last guy. You know the last guy to be penalised for staging.
Who was it?
The bloke who was wearing the jumper yesterday. Who launched the jumper? Son Walters.
Oh, okay.
Sonny Walters, the last one.
When was that?
Not that long ago.
I think it's a while.
And we don't want to go the soccer path, but Brody Kemp, mate, he's just saying, please tell Quarters that it wasn't what he thought.
You have been listening to Quarters and Barra. We have been brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Thanks, Barra.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for listening. We will be back on Thursday to take you through the first part of Sir Doug Nicholls' round. Can you believe it's round 10? I can't.
Looking forward to your interview with the great
David Rhys-Jones.
One of the toughest blokes, skinniest tough bloke ever met.
Oh, yeah.
Skinny, tough bloke.